My name is Michael Shaw. I'm the president of Freedom Advocates. Freedom Advocates exists in order to promote the public understanding of the importance of the political recognition of each of our unalienable rights. This became an issue to us at the beginning of the 21st century as we began to understand the nature of the Agenda 21 program, the program for collectivization, global collectivization, operated through the United Nations and its affiliates. Agenda 21 policies were deep into my community, which is really, as I learned, the sample patch for the implementation of Agenda 21, or sustainable development, within the United States. Today, Santa Cruz has been surpassed by many counties who have implemented this program far more than we have. But be assured that whatever county in America you live in today, you have an Agenda 21 sustainable development program in process that is working to affect the goals of Agenda 21, which can really be summarized in 3 points and supported by the documents prepared at the United Nations. Those 3 points are: first, the abolition of private property. This is why the pressure is mounting on landowners across America. Soon that battle is going to shift into suburban neighborhoods, and the battle for the resettlement of our suburban neighborhoods will begin. Agenda 21 will not stop its process until all the world is collectivized. Now, the second major program for this collectivization is called the Global Citizenship Education Program. This is best evidenced by review of the federal No Child Left Behind legislation and all the series of legislations that have come along in the last several decades following the establishment of the Federal Department of Education. You see, Agenda 21 comes into the United States because President George Bush Sr., this is 1992, went to Rio de Janeiro, and on Prince Charles's yacht, he signed to the American agreement to the standards of Agenda 21 Sustainable Development, and he promised to return to America and infest every federal agency with Agenda 21 principles. You see, this was soft law from the United Nations, not requiring treaty approval. Simply administrative process was sufficient. So beginning in 1992, George Bush brought it to our federal agencies. Today, you can review the websites of any federal agency and you can find references to Agenda 21 or Sustainable Development regularly. But what's more important, you see the policies coming out from our federal government into every state and every county are in the process of implementing this global regime. So once our children are educated for the process of global citizenship, we begin to observe the third dynamic behind Agenda 21 Sustainable Development, and that is control over and ultimately massive reduction in human population. You say, oh, that can't be. I say, well, it is so. It's contained in the UN's document, Global Biodiversity Assessment Report, which calls for reduction of human population. The way we get there is by changing the way we live. It's creating wildlands throughout the United States where human beings will not be allowed to either reside or extract materials. Human beings are to be congregated in smart growth communities. That's why you see in every community in California and across the country the push for walkable communities, which means you live on the 20th floor and you walk downstairs, where smart growth cages are really built for the American citizens. And we thought the one way in and one way out of Polish cities was a dangerous mistake. Well, smart growth is designed to take control over all human action. The Wildlands Project is designed to reduce us to abjects of poverty. World government is the program behind the Democrat Party and Republican Party sponsored Agenda 21 program. Your local politicians are paid by parties who support the globalization, including the destruction of America, because the programs of sustainable development have been in process for a lot longer than simply since 1992. but the acceleration since then has been overwhelming and accounts for the apparent crumbling of our fiat money system. So what I suggest, because this is a gloomy picture, what I suggest is first that people take reasonable steps to prepare for the worst. Now, I could see the worst to include the destruction of our currency. Now, that doesn't mean anyone should lose confidence in our fiat reserve money, not until we have it replaced. But in case those on the inside of the fiat system decide to subjugate the world by collapsing their monetary system, it is important that you have something with which you can barter. It is also important that you have access to food and to water. It is clear you want to be out of debt. Because if you're in debt, you become chattel of this New World Order. Now, mortgage debt may be a slightly different circumstance. But if one can find themselves in a position to own their home outright, they'll find themselves much happier for having done so. Once you've prepared for the possible worst and you have your access to food and water and barter material, then you want to understand what sustainable development is, because its completion is not a fait accompli. The battle is in their terms, a global to local battle. That means they infuse your community with sustainable development policy. Come to understand that policy and strike at it at every turn. Even those programs that might appeal to you for some undefined reason need to be understood if they fit in the context of sustainable development, and almost nothing coming from our city councils and county commissioners today do not reflect that. Again, it's because the parties are controlled by the agents of world government.